Joining me now to discuss Herb London. Herb, what do you make of the fact that there was a period there, particularly at the beginning of the year, end of last year, where it felt like the terrorists were themselves exhausted with respect to weaponry, resorting to knives and automobiles. You had a machine gun used in France on the eve of the election, and now this obviously much more sophisticated attack.
Much more sophisticated attack, and there is no doubt that we have made some strides in identifying and predicting who the terrorists are. But in a vulnerable society, an open society like ours, you cannot be entirely perfect in the manner in which you prevent these kinds of attacks. What you try to do is to engage in as much intelligence as possible. In this particular instance, for example, that bomb has a signature. That signature has embedded information. That information tells you an awful lot about how the bomb was constructed. We learn a lot each and every time. That doesn't mean, however, that we are now going to be able to face all of the threats that are possible. And these threats will continue.
Does this mean, though, we talked earlier about defeating ISIS on the battlefield, and the more they suffered casualties there, the more likely they would lash out in the form of terrorism in the West?
Well, you and I have talked about this before. This is not merely a war on a battlefield. This is an ideational war. And we have to have the ideas that are necessary to neutralize what is happening across the globe. ISIS has a certain kind of appeal. However perverse it may be, it has a certain kind of appeal. We have to put ourselves in the position where we know how to counter that.
But I do want to go back to what we came in with, to Terrorism. By elevating the threat level, Herb, and some experts are saying that this is a more sophisticated attack than certainly we've seen in recent times. It wasn't someone who stole the van. That perhaps it points to a larger active terror cell, that if they're on the run, they may want to commit more acts of terror before.
I think that that's absolutely correct. I think that Theresa May is quite right in talking about this as being critical for the future of the UK. But it's true across Europe. And the point that Tammy was making is a very important one. And that is, once you accept the idea that this is a normal kind of behavior, you accept that. I mean, one of the contributions that Trump made during this last campaign and this presidential season is to talk about the terrorist attacks in the United States and that we cannot tolerate it. He is going to take the offensive. I like that. I think that that's the appropriate stance for the American president. There's been an interesting shift in the way in which we think about a variety of ideational issues. You think about communism in 1917 during the revolution, and then you think of communism with the fall of the wall. In 1917, intellectuals took it very seriously. By the fall of the wall, it was comedic. If you went to an Eastern University, an Eastern European university, they would say, Marxism? Oh, you're talking about the fifth Marx brother. You're not talking about anything serious.
So, but that took a long time, though, to win that particular ideological war.
Charles, this is a long war as well.
And that was an ideological war.
But remember communication.
Real quick, you wanted to say?
I wanted to say one thing. Look, when the predictive qualities of big data allow you to put yourself in the position of being able to identify the possible terrorist, when that is more significant than the post hoc analysis, then it seems to me we've made strides.
And Paul, you say